Phase 2 complete. Hello lovely, my name is Zoe, my brain's a dragon, and I have good news. We have made it to the end of Phase 2. Yay! That means that from the random and somewhat vague terms and ideas that we had last time, we've actually managed to get some detail. There's some actual concrete stuff happening, which is pretty cool. So the elements for this were the Rock Your Plot scene outlines using the scenes which were hook, inciting incident, plot point 1, pinch point 1, midpoint, pinch point 2, plot point 2, and the end. 9 plot points that we now have actual scenes for. Yeah! And okay, that was a little bit of a mess because I struggle with scene cards, but it turns out that if I actually just read the book a couple of times, then I can get into the headspace of where I'm supposed to be for that, and it made sense. So that was great. We also managed to get some of the arcs for the main characters. Now, I know that generally you don't need to have a character arc for every single character that you have, but I tend to find that if I've got an arc for all of the main cast, it means I know where I'm going to go with it and I can layer things in a bit better, which is fantastic. So now I have an idea of the character arcs and the things that my cast is going to learn in the book. Yay! Which also helps to tie into the subplots, because subplots are where we actually have the change happen. So I've got a couple of those in. I did use a lot of the genre convention stuff because genre conventions make it significantly easier to wrangle what sort of plots you have, and it also means that you have some progression milestones nicely marked out for you, and progression is really important. The other thing that I looked at was theme. In this instance, relying on others does not make you weak. Friendships are stronger than the sum of their parts. Because it's true. And it's fun. And it also means that we have that line not just for the romantic leads who end up being emotionally better, I guess, because they have each other and that makes everybody sort of happy and they've had to do that grow thing so that they don't end up as the same sort of people. And it also means that we end up with that for everyone involved, which is fantastic because we don't want it to be the thing where you have friendships and then you have a relationship and then you don't have friendships anymore. I mean, that's not how friendships work. At least in my experience, you generally sort of like have the people you're friends with, they find people who they also like. You probably like the person, or alternatively, like, get along with them at least. But in this instance, they should fit in just fine because that's the whole point of how I'm doing this. So that's good. But that means that we're actually doing really nicely. It means that this has enough that I can actually sit down and go, okay, if I want there to be a clear change from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, this is how I can manage that. And perhaps more importantly, I have some actual scenes now. I have some idea what the characters want when they're going in to do some action-y things, like going to visit the newcomer. What does that look like? Why is Felicity doing that? The answer is because that's what she does. It's a very in-character moment for her. So it means that I have a lot to work with, and it means that I can use that if I decided to say start writing tomorrow, which I'm not going to for reference. We're going to phase 3, it's fine. But for reference, if I did decide that that's what I was going to do, I would be able to do that because I had key scenes at particular points and I know when I need to get to those points. So it's less likely for me to spend 7,000 words waffling and not get to say the hook. It's unlikely that I'm going to spend 25,000 words before getting to the point of adhesion or the plot point 1, which is the break into Act 2, so that we can actually start the action. The middle is probably not going to end up being completely all over the place because I have the pinch point 1, the midpoint, and pinch point 2 to give me that sort of pacing, so I actually have some idea where to put events, and so when I sit down to write, I'll be able to go, I'm at this word count, this is my expected word count, what sort of things should I be looking at to happen in the next little bit? And then that fantastically will make it so that my book doesn't end up sprawling too much. It also will mean that it doesn't end up wandering too much, and it will hopefully mean that I actually have some kind of story, not just a series of events that may or may not be amusing depending on whether or not you like my characters. So I am incredibly excited. This calls for a celebratory cup of tea so that I can think about the stories that we are planning, and there should be some good adventures in there as well. I will see you next time. Bye, lovely!